Shattering Glass, Chapter 7. Of course, we wondered why these boys were so suddenly Simon's friends, but we were delighted that Simon was coming out of his shell. He became interested in how he looked. He didn't lock himself up in his room with his computer. He seemed happy. And how could we suspect something like this would happen? That Stewart boy, his father's a doctor and on the school board. His uncle was a state representative. That family has always been respected in this town. Bob's father works for the same firm I do. We didn't know anything about the other boy, Rob, but he was charming and had lovely manners. What could we have done? Diane Glass. I was voted designated driver for Saturday's spree because I had the best car, a slightly used 4x4 Jeep Cherokee, sturdy and sedate enough to please my father and quietly flash enough for me. Bobster and Coop came to my house. We picked up Rob and headed for Simon's. Anybody know where Glass lives? I asked. Rob yelled from the back seat. 627 Timberlake Drive. Timberlake? Pretty uptown, Bobster said. Coop spoke up. His parents are Dow execs, both of them. Into the status thing, good address, the right cars, 2 computers, and 1 kid. How do you know? Rob asked. After school, we shot the shit. He took my notebook home with him. He needed to start a fire? Bobster asked. Don't know. He just asked to borrow it. That was Coop. He probably lent his underwear if someone asked him for it. 627 Timberlake Drive was a sprawling one-story house nestled on the lake. Landscaped and manicured, it shouted good architect and stacks of cash. Not bad, Bobster whistled. This guy's as rich as you are, young. We tramped up a brick path. The front door was massive, and its glass side panels gleamed. Rob rang the bell, and the door ripped open. Had Glass been lying in wait? Hair combed, shirt pocket empty, his pants, khaki showing a mile of sock, pressed. Simon grinned. Bobster shouldered past Simon. This place is great. Come in, look around if you like, Glass mumbled. We like, Bobster said. We entered a marble foyer with a high vaulted ceiling. A huge chandelier glittered overhead. Glass led us to a high-tech kitchen that gleamed with antiseptic whiteness. What's this way? Bob pointed to a hall. That's my wing. Your wing? Coop asked. My parents told the architect to design the house so they wouldn't have to hear my music. Their bedroom, study, and library are there, and mine is on this side. He showed us down a hall lined with abstract paintings. Coop's house would fit in Simon's bedroom. A connecting room held a big screen TV, a VCR, a DVD, a sound system, and computer paraphernalia that would make the Pentagon jealous. Shelves crammed with books, model rockets, and microscopes filled the walls, and a telescope as big as a howitzer stood in the corner. I put a weight bitch in here, Coop said. You never have to see your parents in this place, I said. I almost never do see my parents. I spend all of my time on the computer and stuff. Glass relaxed. He had something we admired. The mood changed when Bobster opened the closet. This is unbelievable. We inspected the closet. 5 pairs of navy blue, double knit slacks, and 6 or 7 shirts hung there, all white or pale blue. This is it? Bobster demanded. Simon ducked his head. I've got these khakis and this plaid shirt. He was pointing to the clothes he wore. My grandmother gave them to me for my birthday. Rob clapped Simon on the shoulder. Glass, the clothes rebellion is over. You gotta dress for success. That's what we're here for. Renovations. Major renovations, Bobster muttered, closing the door on the offending sight. Burn all that crap or bury it. Simon got his wallet, checked his credit cards, and squeezed the billfold into the back pocket of his straining khakis. We piled in and pointed my Cherokee toward Houston's Galleria. Coop sang along with the radio and imitated static when he couldn't remember the words. Rob and Bobster sat in the back bucket seats while Simon wobbled on the hump between them. They discussed Simon's new look. Coop was a jeans, t-shirt, and athletic shoes guy by the demands of his limited wallet and lifestyle. But Bob dressed. Long and lean, dark and handsome, Bob traded on his looks. He wore linen slacks in summer and soft wool or flannel dress slacks in winter. He made clothes look good rather than the other way around. Rob and I were middle of the sartorial road. I think we ought to forget about a fashion statement, Rob said. Simon swiveled his head toward Rob and opened his mouth. I think, Bob interrupted. Gotta go casual, but not sloppy. Simon swung toward Bob, opened his mouth again, but Rob spoke. Semi-prep might do it, kind of Eddie Bauer, L.L. Bean, or Banana Republic. Simon gave up and stared straight ahead. Tees and bags won't work, I said. Bobster gave a mock shiver. No way. Simon's head swiveled as we hashed out his shortcomings and a plan of attack. In 45 minutes, we had ideas and a parking spot. As we bailed, Rob pointed to the driver's side mirror. Glass, take a last look and say goodbye. Simon looked, then glanced at each of us, unsure. He looked back to Rob. Trust me. Rob smiled. We took off for the mall entrance. Simon tore his eyes away from his reflection and followed, gathering speed as he caught up. The Galleria's 3 floors of upscale stores, plus 4-star hotels, were covered with a glass dome. Trees grew in mammoth pots, fountains sprayed in arches, and the centerpiece was an ice rink, the biggest of the few on the Texas Gulf Coast. We gave Glass's credit card a healthy workout. We traveled from store to store to store, level to level, piling up khaki pants, pleated and cuffed, measured to break at the tops of his shoes. We got button-down cotton shirts and stripes, plaids, and solids, jeans, vertical striped rugby jerseys, boat shoes and loafers, sweats, running shoes, a leather bomber jacket, and a dark crew neck sweaters completed the haul. One more thing, Simon said. He barged into a sporting goods store and past aisles of fishing rods and tennis rackets. He snagged a dark blue nylon backpack. This too, he said, smiling and proud. Good. Rob slung the pack by one strap over Simon's left shoulder. Remember, one shoulder. Simon all but wagged his tail. Sure, one strap. Now the hair, Bobster said. We cruised to a place called Scissor Hands. Shiny chrome and scats of mirrors announced a salon that catered to the young and fashionable rather than the blue-haired geezer ladies. We flipped through magazines and watched MTV in the waiting room until the nose and eyebrow-pierced receptionist said, Dragon will see you now. Dragon. Dragon eyeballed us and pointed to Simon. This must be the client. He seated and sheeted Glass before any of us could manage a sound. Dragon had blue spiked hair and a tattoo that crawled from his neck to his cheek. Rob said, Nothing weird. Neat, preppy short, you know. The stylist rolled his eyes. Come back in 40 minutes. He commanded, Y'all make me nervous. Shoo, shoo. He flapped his manicured hands at us and squinted at Glass's hair with deadly intent. He parted it to the left, to the right, and spied us watching. He placed one hand on his hip and spoke to our reflections. I won't do a thing until you leave. I must concentrate. We took Simon's packages to the car and went to get root beer and chocolate chunk cookies. Hanging over the rails, we watched the ice skaters circle, twirl, and leap across the rink below us. The female skaters wore tight, stretchy dresses with short, flippy skirts. Think of all those hours of practice, I said. Perfect control, said Rob. Cool moves, said Bobster. Great legs, great butts, said Coop. That's what we meant, Rob said. Voila, the stylist trilled. He spun the chair and whisked the drape with a flourish, unveiling Simon. Amazing. Glass's hair lay against his head from a perfectly straight part, and he had 2 separate eyebrows. I thinned out the brows and pulled the hair forward. He has such a high forehead, Dragon clucked. Now, you can see his lovely eyes. Bobster punched Rob. His lovely eyes. Glass, my man. Rob walked around the chair, nodding and smiling. This is getting easier by the minute. Simon popped out the chair, checked his reflection, then slapped his hands together. What happens now? I got home late. We toured the Galleria until Simon's credit card threatened a meltdown. Simon paid for dinner at Outback Steakhouse and the latest action flick. We carried packages into his house and found a note taped to his bedroom door. Out to dinner and theater. No signature. Simon pitched it into the wastebasket. Coop, Simon wheezed. I have something for you. He picked up a black notebook from the desk and thrust it at Coop. What's this? Coop grunted. A notebook, Conan, Bobster said. Your notebook, Simon said. Nah, that can't be mine. It is. I organized it and took out old papers. I think some of them were from first grade. We stared. Glass had made a joke. I kept the old stuff in case you wanted it, but I divided the notebook into sections for each subject and subdivided it into notes, assignments, and completed work. And there's a clip-in dictionary in back and a plastic pouch for note cards, for your research paper. Simon flipped labeled tabs. Clean paper here, a write-on calendar is in the front. You can mark due dates for your work. Simon pulled note cards from the pouch. I separated bib cards from note cards and put them in chronological order. That's the best way to approach your paper. He tucked the cards back into the pouch. Coop turned the notebook over in his huge hands and looked up at Simon. Coop thrust out his paw, grabbed Simon's pudgy one, and shook. I, you know, uh, I appreciate it. Simon colored. Rob gave me the idea. Coop looked at Rob, who gave him a thumbs up. Coop turned back to Glass. Let's start running tomorrow. Meet me at the track and we'll rev it up. Simon stammered a yes. I'll meet you too, Rob said. No need, Rob, said Coop. I can handle Simon's exercise program. I'll be there, Coop. Coop backed off a step. No sweat, Rob. I just thought. You're not supposed to think, Coop. Don't forget it. My stomach clutched. Rob had never said anything like that before, especially to Coop. Rob held up both hands. Shit, I'm really sorry. That didn't come out right. I just meant let me do the thinking, Coop. You have your scholarship to worry about. I don't want to add to your workload. Rob put his hand on Coop's shoulder. And you know me, he said. I have to be in the middle of everything. Why don't you call me an asshole and then forgive me? He gave Coop his all shucks smile. Coop rubbed his nose and looked around at the rest of us. Then he cleared his throat and said, You're forgiven. He paused. Asshole. Why don't we hit the road and let Simon get some sleep? Rob turned back to Glass. The track is 7. Simon's eyebrows almost bunched into one again. In the morning? It was after 1 o'clock when I let myself into the house. As I locked the front door and set the alarm, the door to my father's study opened. Young, please come in. I need to speak with you. My father's voice was soft and easy, but I learned long ago not to trust it. It was a tool he forged to reassure his patients, but there were glass shards and hunks of concrete hidden under its silky surface. I went in. Sit down, Young. Dad always smelled of soap and authority. He lowered himself into a tufted leather desk chair that swiveled and rocked. His massive desk was clear of clutter or dust. Tipping back his chair, Dad tapped his chin with a gold fountain pen. I dropped into a maroon leather club chair. As I sank into its soft cushions, my father seemed to tower over me. Sit up straight, Young. You know you shouldn't slouch. I hitched up and sat with my back rigid. That's better. Dad laid down his pen and cleared his throat. It seems there's a problem. I didn't say a word. I spoke to Mrs. Conley today. My counselor? Yes. I called her to see if I could get a printout of class rankings. He retrieved the pen and tapped a staccato beat. They don't tabulate those until spring. I'm aware of that, Young, but I wanted to see where you stand at this point. See who your competition is. Dad, I'm not going to be valedictorian. Not with that attitude, you're not, nor, he leaned forward, nor with your present schedule of classes for next semester. I lowered my gaze to my clenched hands. It seems you've made a few unauthorized changes in your course selections. Friday, I had gone to Miss Connolly and dropped the second semester of advanced bio and signed up for creative writing. Traded frogs for fiction. I knew Dad would find out eventually, but I didn't think it would be this soon. Look, Dad, I can explain. He interrupted, his voice as sharp as his scalpel. Unless you can explain how writing amateurish fiction can further your progress in your chosen field, I don't want to hear it. That's just it. My voice rose. It's not my chosen field. Young, medicine has been the destiny of every... I did the unspeakable. I interrupted my father. I'm not cut out for it, Dad. I can't even dissect a frog without puking my guts up. Lower your voice and kindly sit down. I hadn't realized I was standing. I shut my mouth and said, Young, You will go to medical school. You will graduate in the top 5 of your class. You will drop that writing class and take advanced biology, and you will do it Monday at 8 o'clock. I attempted to stare him down, but I didn't have the balls. I dropped my eyes again and nodded. Good. I'm glad we came to an understanding. His pen tapped against the desk like a heartbeat. You may go, Young. Get some sleep. I stood up, walked to the door, and turned to speak. Close the door behind you, my father said. I did what I was told. I closed the door to my room with care. No slamming doors in this house. My head strummed and my hands fisted and opened, fisted and opened. I paced the room, trying to calm down, trying not to scream, trying not to curse my father at the top of my lungs, trying not to cry. I grabbed the fat, decorated pillow at the end of my bed and planted my fist deep. The pillow was my father's face, and I smashed his mouth while he told me what to do and how to do it. I pounded the pillow until I cooled out enough to write. A new story with a new ending might help me sleep.